The fall of the Old Kingdom. When the age of the pyramids came to an end for generations, the pyramids stood as symbols of absolute power. The pharaoh ruled as a living god. The Nile flooded with remarkable regularity. Harvests were abundant. Trade routes stretched deep into Nubia, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Levant. Egypt seemed eternal. Many believed that nothing could ever threaten the world's greatest civilization. But history has a way of humbling even the mightiest empires. The same kingdom that built the Great Pyramid would soon begin to unravel from within. After the reign of Khafre and Menkaure, pyramid construction continued, but something had changed. Each new pyramid became smaller than the last. The craftsmanship remained extraordinary. Yet the immense wealth required for monuments like Giza was becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. Building a pyramid demanded tens of thousands of workers. Massive quarries had to remain active year after year. Food had to be transported across the kingdom. Skilled craftsmen, engineers, priests, and administrators all depended on the royal treasury. For decades, Egypt could afford this enormous expense. Eventually, the cost became overwhelming. Another challenge quietly emerged. The pharaohs rewarded loyal officials with land. Governors, known as nomarchs, gradually gained control over entire provinces. At first, these appointments strengthened the kingdom. Local leaders managed irrigation systems, collected taxes, organized labor, protected villages, but over time, many nomarchs became incredibly wealthy. Their positions passed from father to son. Some ruled their territories almost like independent kings. The authority that had once belonged entirely to the pharaoh was slowly slipping away. Meanwhile, nature began testing Egypt itself. Modern climate research suggests that around 2200 BC, dramatic changes affected rainfall across northeastern Africa. The annual Nile floods became weaker. Fields that had once produced abundant harvests yielded far less grain. Canals dried, livestock died, fishing declined. For ordinary Egyptians, survival became increasingly uncertain. The civilization that depended completely upon the Nile suddenly faced a terrifying reality. What if the river failed? Ancient inscriptions describe years of hunger unlike anything previous generations had experienced. Families abandoned villages searching for food. Granaries emptied. Trade slowed dramatically. Some local rulers opened their private food stores to the people. Others protected only their own lands. Without strong central leadership, inequality grew rapidly. The wealthy survived. The poor suffered. For centuries, Egyptians believed the pharaoh guaranteed the balance of the universe. If crops failed, perhaps the gods were no longer pleased. Faith itself began to weaken. When disasters struck repeatedly, people questioned whether the king truly possessed divine favor. This silent loss of confidence proved almost as dangerous as famine itself. One remarkable text, later known as the Admonitions of Epure, described a kingdom consumed by chaos. Although historians continue debating exactly when it was written, its dramatic imagery has fascinated scholars for generations. It tells of rivers filled with despair, the rich becoming poor, the poor becoming powerful, servants abandoning their masters, temples neglected, order replaced by confusion. Whether entirely historical or partly literary, the text reflects how deeply Egyptians feared the collapse of the sacred balance that held the universe together. As royal authority weakened, ambitious nomarchs expanded their independence. Some built magnificent tombs rivaling those of the kings. Others assembled private armies. Local identities grew stronger than national unity. Egypt was no longer one unquestioned kingdom. It was becoming a collection of competing regions. Civil war slowly emerged. Pyramid construction nearly stopped. Resources once dedicated to royal monuments were redirected toward survival. Even the royal burial traditions changed. Future kings could no longer command the limitless labor available to earlier rulers. The age of giant pyramids had ended. It would never return. Yet even during crisis, Egyptian culture refused to disappear. Instead, remarkable changes took place. For the first time, religious beliefs that had once focused almost entirely upon the pharaoh began spreading among ordinary people. Previously, eternal life was viewed as the privilege of kings. Now nobles and common citizens increasingly believed they too could enter the afterlife. Religious texts became more accessible. Funerary traditions spread across society. The dream of immortality was no longer reserved for royalty alone. Another fascinating legend emerged during this troubled era. Some priests spoke of the mysterious Book of Thoth. According to legend, the god Thoth himself had written a sacred book containing limitless knowledge. Whoever read its pages could understand the language of animals, master the heavens, command the earth, and even speak with the gods. But every gift carried a terrible curse. Those who sought the book out of greed would lose everything they loved. No archaeological evidence has ever confirmed the book's existence. Yet its legend survived for thousands of years, inspiring countless stories of forbidden wisdom. Elsewhere, another mystery deepened. Far beneath the sands near Hawara, later generations whispered about an enormous underground labyrinth. Greek historian Herodotus would eventually claim it contained thousands of chambers, surpassing even the pyramids in grandeur. Some believed it protected forgotten royal secrets. Others imagined hidden libraries filled with ancient knowledge. Although archaeologists have identified parts of the historical complex, many legends surrounding the labyrinth remain unresolved even today. The mystery continues to inspire explorers around the world. Despite political collapse, Egyptian artists continued creating astonishing masterpieces. Wooden statues became more lifelike. Painted tombs displayed scenes of everyday life. Literature flourished. Poetry, wisdom texts, and philosophical reflections became increasingly sophisticated. Sometimes civilizations produced their greatest art, not during their strongest years, but during their darkest ones. For nearly 2 centuries, Egypt remained divided. Different dynasties claimed the throne simultaneously. Northern and southern rulers competed for legitimacy. The kingdom that had once spoken with one voice now struggled simply to survive. Yet from this long period of instability, a new generation of leaders slowly emerged. They dreamed not merely of restoring Egypt, but of making it stronger than ever before. The Middle Kingdom was about to begin. The Middle Kingdom Egypt rises again. For nearly 200 years, Egypt had been divided. The mighty kingdom that once built the Great Pyramid no longer existed as a united nation. Powerful governors ruled their own territories. Rival kings claimed the throne. Trade had weakened. Many temples had fallen into neglect. 2 later generations. This period became known as the First Intermediate Period, a time when order gave way to uncertainty. Yet Egypt had survived, and along the Nile, a new ruler was preparing to restore what had been lost. In the southern city of Thebes, a powerful dynasty steadily gained influence. Unlike the kings before them, these rulers understood that Egypt could not be rebuilt through monuments alone. The kingdom needed stability, secure trade, reliable harvests, and above all, unity. One man would achieve what others could not. His name was Mentuhotep II. Around 2055 BC, after years of conflict, Mentuhotep II defeated his northern rivals and reunited Upper and Lower Egypt. For the second time in history, the 2 lands became one kingdom. His victory marked the beginning of what historians now call the Middle Kingdom. Across Egypt, celebrations filled the temples. The old banners of rival kingdoms disappeared. Once again, the pharaoh ruled from the Nile Delta to the southern frontier. But this new Egypt would not simply imitate the past. It would become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The capital eventually shifted north to Itchtoi, a carefully planned royal city located near the entrance to the Fayum region. Its exact location remains one of archaeology's greatest unsolved mysteries. Although historians know it existed, no one has definitively identified its ruins. Some believe it still lies hidden beneath farmland or buried beneath layers of Nile sediment. If discovered, Itchtoi could transform our understanding of the Middle Kingdom forever. Unlike earlier kings who focused almost entirely on building pyramids, the rulers of the Middle Kingdom invested heavily in agriculture. Massive irrigation canals expanded farmland. Engineers redirected floodwaters into enormous reservoirs. The fertile Fayum Depression became one of Egypt's richest farming regions. Food production increased dramatically. A stronger harvest meant a stronger kingdom. Trade flourished once again. Egyptian ships sailed south into Nubia in search of gold, ebony, ivory, incense, and exotic animals. To the east, merchants crossed the Sinai for turquoise and copper. Trade routes reached the Levant, bringing cedar wood, fine oils, and luxury goods. Egypt was once again becoming one of the wealthiest civilizations in the ancient world. The pharaohs also strengthened Egypt's southern frontier. Rather than relying only on armies, they built a chain of powerful fortresses along the Nile. Massive stone walls guarded narrow river passages. Watchtowers overlooked desert roads. Soldiers monitored merchants entering Egyptian territory. These fortresses became both military bases and centers of international trade. Some still stand today, offering archaeologists remarkable insights into ancient engineering. The Middle Kingdom also witnessed a cultural renaissance. Literature reached extraordinary heights. Stories became longer, characters more complex. Writers explored justice, morality, loyalty, and human emotion in ways rarely seen before. One of the most famous works, The Tale of Sinew, follows an Egyptian official forced into exile after the death of his king. Far from home, Sinew becomes wealthy and respected. Yet despite his success, he longs to return to Egypt. His story reveals something remarkable. To the Egyptians, their homeland was more than a kingdom. It was the center of the universe. Education also became increasingly important. Scribes occupied one of the highest positions in society. Unlike farmers or laborers, scribes worked indoors. They mastered mathematics, administration, law, religion, and diplomacy. Ancient texts even encouraged young boys to become scribes, describing manual labor as difficult while praising the comfort and prestige of intellectual life. Knowledge had become a form of power. Religion continued evolving. Ordinary Egyptians increasingly believed they too deserved eternal life. Funerary texts once reserved for kings now appeared inside the coffins of nobles. These writings, known today as the coffin texts, guided the dead through the dangerous journey across the underworld. For the first time, immortality seemed available to many rather than only a select few. This religious transformation permanently changed Egyptian society. Among the most mysterious stories of this period is the legend of the hidden Library of Thoth. According to ancient tradition, somewhere beneath an unknown temple rested chambers filled with sacred scrolls, containing the secrets of astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and divine wisdom. Some believed these writings explained how the stars moved across the heavens. Others claimed they revealed the true names of the gods. No evidence has ever confirmed the library's existence, yet explorers have searched for it for centuries. Its legend remains one of Egypt's greatest mysteries. Meanwhile, Egyptian artists reached new levels of realism. Royal statues displayed signs of age, wisdom, and responsibility rather than perfect youthful beauty. Faces showed wrinkles, heavy eyelids, thoughtful expressions. The Middle Kingdom presented kings not simply as divine beings, but as rulers carrying the enormous burden of protecting their people. This subtle artistic change reflected a new understanding of leadership. Architects also continued building pyramids. However, these monuments differed greatly from those of the Old Kingdom. Many were constructed using mud brick cores covered by limestone, rather than massive blocks of solid stone. Although impressive during their own time, many have not survived as well as the pyramids at Giza. Nature slowly reclaimed them. Today, some appear little more than weathered hills rising from the desert. One fascinating legend tells of the mysterious labyrinth of Hawara. Greek travelers later described an enormous complex with countless chambers, underground halls, sacred courtyards, and hidden passageways. Some believed it protected royal archives. Others imagined treasures beyond measure hidden beneath its floors. Although archaeologists have uncovered portions of the historical site, many questions remain unanswered. Even today, the labyrinth continues to inspire speculation among historians and explorers alike. By the end of the Middle Kingdom, Egypt once again stood among the world's greatest powers. Its economy was thriving, its borders were secure, its culture flourished. Yet beyond Egypt's northeastern frontier, new groups of migrants were slowly moving toward the Nile Delta. At first, they arrived as merchants, then as settlers. Eventually, they would become conquerors. For the first time in centuries, Egypt would fall under foreign rule. The age of the Hyksos was about to begin. The Hyksos and the rise of the new kingdom for centuries. Egypt believed its deserts were enough to keep enemies away. The scorching sands to the west, the rugged mountains to the east, the Mediterranean Sea to the north, and the dangerous cataracts of the Nile to the south. Together, they had protected the kingdom for nearly 2,000 years. Few foreign armies had ever managed to invade Egypt, but history was about to change, not because Egypt had grown weaker, but because the world around it was changing faster than ever before. Around 1700 BC, waves of people from Western Asia gradually entered the eastern Nile Delta. At first, they arrived peacefully. Many were merchants, others were skilled craftsmen. Some settled permanently, bringing new technologies, languages, and customs. The Egyptians called these newcomers the Hyksos, meaning rulers of foreign lands. Unlike the terrifying invaders described in later legends, the Hyksos did not conquer Egypt overnight. Their rise happened slowly. Over generations, they gained political influence, controlled important trade routes, and eventually established their own kingdom in northern Egypt. Their capital became the powerful city of Abaris, located in the eastern delta. The Hyksos brought innovations EGYPT had rarely seen before. The most revolutionary was the horse-drawn chariot. Until then, Egyptian armies relied mainly on infantry carrying spears, axes, and bows. The sight of fast-moving chariots charging across the battlefield completely changed ancient warfare. They also introduced stronger composite bows capable of firing arrows farther and with greater force. Bronze weapons became more common. Improved armor offered better protection. For the first time, Egypt faced an enemy equipped with military technology unlike its own. To later Egyptian historians, the Hyksos occupation became a national humiliation. Foreign kings now ruled the northern half of the kingdom. Temples paid taxes to outsiders. Egypt's unity had once again been broken. Yet the Hyksos did not destroy Egyptian civilization. Instead, they adopted many Egyptian traditions. They worshipped local gods alongside their own. They wrote using Egyptian administrative systems. They built temples in Egyptian style. In many ways, they became part of the civilization they had conquered. Meanwhile, in the southern city of Thebes, native Egyptian rulers refused to accept foreign domination. Generation after generation, they quietly strengthened their armies. They studied Hyksos military tactics. They learned to build their own chariots. They trained expert archers. Instead of rejecting foreign technology, they mastered it. Sometimes history is shaped not by resisting change, but by learning from it. One Theban ruler in particular refused to live under foreign rule. His name was Seqenenre Tao. Ancient inscriptions describe him as a courageous king determined to drive the Hyksos from Egypt. His death remains one of archaeology's most chilling discoveries. When his mummy was examined thousands of years later, researchers found terrible wounds across his skull, deep axe cuts, crushed bones, massive injuries that suggest he died violently, perhaps during battle or after being captured. Even in death, Seqenenre became a symbol of resistance. His sons continued the struggle. First came Ahmose, who launched daring military campaigns deep into Hyksos territory. Although he won important victories, complete liberation remained out of reach. Then the throne passed to his younger brother, Ahmose I. History would remember him as the founder of a new age. Ahmose transformed the Egyptian army. Fast chariots now led military campaigns. Professional soldiers replaced temporary militias. New bronze weapons increased battlefield effectiveness. Egypt no longer fought like the kingdom of the Old Kingdom. It had become a modern military power by the standards of its age. After years of relentless warfare, Ahmose captured Avaris. The Hyksos fled toward southern Canaan. For the first time in generations, Egypt was free. Victory changed Egypt forever. Earlier pharaohs had focused primarily on protecting their borders. Ahmose reached a different conclusion. If foreign enemies could invade Egypt once, they could do it again. Instead of waiting behind the Nile, Egypt would carry the war beyond its own frontiers. This single decision transformed Egyptian history. The kingdom would become an empire. Military campaigns pushed deep into Nubia. Gold mines returned to Egyptian control. Fortresses secured the southern frontier. To the northeast, Egyptian armies marched into the Levant. Trade cities acknowledged Egyptian authority. Tribute flowed toward the Nile. Wealth unlike anything seen since the Pyramid Age filled the royal treasury. Egypt entered its greatest period of expansion. The enormous wealth flowing into the kingdom funded ambitious construction projects. Magnificent temples rose across the land. Unlike the giant pyramids of earlier centuries, New Kingdom rulers preferred hidden rock-cut tombs. They believed secrecy offered better protection than size. This decision led to the creation of one of history's most remarkable burial grounds, the Valley of the Kings. Hidden among barren cliffs west of Thebes, dozens of royal tombs disappeared beneath the desert. Some remained untouched for thousands of years. Others attracted tomb robbers almost immediately. One would eventually reveal the most famous archaeological discovery of the 20th century. Religion also evolved. The god Amun, once worshipped mainly in Thebes, became one of Egypt's most powerful deities. His temple at Karnak expanded generation after generation. Massive columns reached toward the sky. Obelisks covered with hieroglyphs celebrated royal victories. Priests gained enormous wealth and political influence. Soon, the high priest of Amun rivaled even the pharaoh in prestige. The balance between religion and royal authority would become one of Egypt's greatest internal challenges. Ancient legends from this period speak of hidden chambers beneath Karnak containing sacred relics, and forgotten scrolls protected by the gods themselves. Some stories claimed that only those judged worthy by Amun could ever find them. Others believed powerful priests deliberately concealed secret knowledge beneath the temple complex. Before times of war, modern archaeology has uncovered numerous hidden rooms, caches of statues, and buried foundations beneath Karnak. Yet many mysteries remain unexplored. Whether the legendary hidden archives truly existed remains one of Egypt's enduring unanswered questions. The liberation from the Hyksos marked far more than a military victory. It reshaped Egypt's identity. No longer isolated, no longer merely defending itself, Egypt became an empire reaching beyond the Nile. Its armies marched across continents. Its monuments grew larger than ever. Its wealth astonished the ancient world. Ahead lay the reigns of extraordinary rulers: Hatshepsut, Thutmose I, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and Ramses the Great. The new kingdom, the golden age of ancient Egypt, had begun. The Egyptian empire, the pharaohs who conquered the ancient world, Egypt was no longer just a kingdom. It had become an empire. For the first time in its long history, the pharaoh ruled lands far beyond the fertile banks of the Nile. Egyptian armies marched through deserts, crossed mountain ranges, and sailed across distant seas. Gold, silver, cedar wood, ivory, exotic animals, incense, and priceless treasures poured into Egypt from every direction. The nation that had once fought simply to survive had become one of the greatest superpowers of the ancient world. Its influence stretched farther than ever before, but with limitless wealth came even greater ambition. The architect of this new empire was Thutmose I. A brilliant military commander, he believed Egypt's borders should never remain fixed. Rather than waiting for enemies to attack, he carried the war deep into foreign lands. His armies marched south into Nubia, securing valuable gold mines that supplied Egypt with enormous wealth. Then they turned north, crossing the Sinai Peninsula and advancing through the Levant. Egyptian soldiers reached lands no pharaoh had ever ruled before. For the first time, Egyptian forces approached the mighty Euphrates River. The impossible had become reality. Egypt had entered Asia, yet military conquest alone could not sustain an empire. The conquered territories needed governors, fortresses, roads, supply depots. Royal officials recorded taxes with remarkable precision. Local rulers were often allowed to remain in power, but only if they swore loyalty to the pharaoh. Every year, tribute caravans arrived in Egypt carrying gold, horses, copper, wine, cedar timber, precious stones, rare animals, and luxury goods from across the Near East. Egypt became the center of an international trading network, unlike anything it had experienced before. Then history took an unexpected turn. When Pharaoh Thutmose I died unexpectedly, his heir was still a young boy. According to tradition, the throne should have passed to him immediately. Instead, one woman made a decision that changed Egyptian history forever. Her name was Hatshepsut. At first, she ruled as regent for the young prince. But over time, she assumed the full authority of a pharaoh. To strengthen her legitimacy, official statues portrayed her wearing the royal Nemes headdress, ceremonial beard, traditional male clothing. Yet inscriptions never denied that she was a woman. Instead, they celebrated her as the rightful ruler chosen by the gods. Few civilizations of the ancient world ever accepted a female ruler with such authority. Egypt did. Unlike many conquerors, Hatshepsut preferred prosperity over constant warfare. She invested heavily in architecture, trade, agriculture, diplomacy. Her most famous achievement was the legendary expedition to the mysterious land of Punt. Its exact location remains one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Some scholars believe Punt lay in modern Eritrea or Somalia. Others suggest eastern Sudan or southern Arabia. Ancient reliefs describe a land overflowing with incense trees, ebony, ivory, gold, exotic animals, leopard skins, and rare perfumes. Egyptian ships returned carrying living myrrh trees, which were planted in temple gardens, perhaps one of history's earliest recorded attempts to transplant foreign plants. To commemorate her reign, Hatshepsut ordered the construction of one of Egypt's greatest architectural masterpieces. Her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri rises in elegant terraces against towering limestone cliffs. Unlike the massive pyramids of earlier dynasties, this monument blended almost perfectly with the surrounding landscape. Even today, many historians consider it one of the most beautiful buildings ever created in ancient Egypt. After Hatshepsut's death, the young prince finally assumed full control. History remembers him as Thutmose I. If Hatshepsut built Egypt's prosperity, Thutmose I built its empire. Many historians call him the Napoleon of ancient Egypt. Over 2 decades, he led at least 17 military campaigns. He rarely lost a battle. His greatest victory came at the Battle of Megiddo. Facing a coalition of rebellious Canaanite kings, Thutmose made an astonishing decision. Rather than taking the safe route through open valleys, He marched his entire army through a dangerously narrow mountain pass. His generals warned him it was too risky. If enemies blocked the path, the Egyptian army could be destroyed. Thutmose ignored their fears. The gamble worked. His soldiers emerged unexpectedly behind enemy lines. The coalition collapsed. Megiddo became one of history's earliest battles, described in remarkable military detail. Following this victory, Egyptian influence expanded dramatically. Cities across Syria and Canaan accepted Egyptian rule. Local princes sent their sons to Egypt for education. There they learned the Egyptian language, religion, administration, and royal customs. When they later returned home as rulers, many remained loyal to the pharaoh. This strategy proved as powerful as military conquest itself. Egypt exported not only soldiers, but culture. Meanwhile, Egyptian craftsmen reached extraordinary levels of skill. Goldsmiths created intricate jewelry inlaid with lapis lazuli, turquoise, and carnelian. Glassmaking advanced rapidly. Furniture became increasingly sophisticated. Royal workshops produced masterpieces admired across the ancient world. Foreign rulers eagerly requested Egyptian luxury goods. Owning Egyptian craftsmanship became a symbol of prestige. One remarkable innovation transformed diplomacy forever. Instead of relying solely on messengers, neighboring kingdoms began exchanging written correspondence. Centuries later, archaeologists uncovered hundreds of these clay tablets at the city of Amarna. Known today as the Amarna letters, they reveal kings negotiating alliances, marriages, military support, and trade agreements. Some rulers begged Egypt for gold. Others pleaded for soldiers. Several complained that neighboring kingdoms had broken promises. The letters reveal something surprising. Even 4,000 years ago, international politics sounded remarkably familiar. Egypt's temples also grew larger than ever before. The Temple of Karnak became one of the largest religious complexes ever constructed. Generation after generation, each pharaoh added new pylons, obelisks, courtyards, sacred lakes, and towering columns. Some columns rose over 20 meters high. Their massive stone capitals resembled blooming papyrus plants reaching toward the heavens. Walking through Karnak must have felt like entering a forest carved entirely from stone. Legends from later centuries claimed that beneath Karnak lay hidden chambers, containing sacred scrolls written by Thoth himself. Some believed these writings described forgotten sciences. Others claimed they revealed the true names of the gods' knowledge, capable of granting unimaginable power. Although archaeologists have discovered hidden rooms, buried statues, and secret storage chambers beneath the temple complex, no mythical library has ever been found. Still, the legend refuses to disappear. By the middle of the New Kingdom, Egypt stood at the height of its power. Its armies were undefeated. Its temples rivaled mountains. Its wealth astonished every neighboring kingdom. Its pharaoh was regarded as one of the most powerful rulers on earth. Yet within only a few decades, one man would challenge thousands of years of religious tradition. He would close the temples, abandon the old gods, build an entirely new capital, and attempt one of history's most radical religious revolutions. His name was Akhenaten.